Welcome to History Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Leave it to Beavers? Not if you're a wolf. Highlights of Trump's hours on the witness stand at New York civil fraud trial. Gary Colson, who lobbied for three-point shot in college ball, dies at 89. The $777 million surprise: Donald Trump is getting richer. 5 hostages of Hamas are free, offering some hope to families of more than 200 still captive. Leave it to Beavers? Not if you're a wolf. New York Times. A new study has investigated the effect of wolves on beaver activity in Voyageurs National Park in northern Minnesota. By hunting beavers further away from their colonies, wolves limit the extent to which beavers can cut down trees and transform the landscape. The beaver's appetite for deciduous trees can eliminate species like aspens near their homes, leaving a conifer buffer. The researchers found that wolves hunted more on longer beaver trails, preventing them from sculpting up to 18 sq miles of the forest. The paper has raised interesting possibilities and could catalyze a lot more studies. Highlights of Trump's hours on the witness stand at New York civil fraud trial. Associated Press. Former President Donald Trump testified for 3.5 hours in his New York civil trial on Monday, denying allegations by New York Attorney General Letitia James that he exaggerated his wealth on financial statements to secure loans. He attacked the judge in the case, Arthur Engoron, who had already ruled Trump liable for fraud before the trial began, calling the decision fraudulent. Engoron responded by warning Trump that the trial was not a political rally. Trump also criticized Kevin Wallace, the attorney from James's office, and accused her of pursuing him for political reasons. He said of James, "She's a political hack, and this a disgrace that a case like this is going on, she should be ashamed of herself." Trump also downplayed the importance of the annual statements of financial condition at the center of the case, saying they were not important to him and arguing that banks only wanted to know if he had enough cash to cover loans. He also emphasized that the financial statements had a disclaimer clause that absolved him and his company of responsibility. Gary Colson, who lobbied for three-point shot in college ball, dies at 89. New York Times. Gary Colson, a successful college basketball coach, has died at 89. Colson was a member of the NCAA Rules Committee when he successfully lobbied to have the three-point shot introduced to college basketball. The $777 million surprise: Donald Trump is getting richer. The Sydney Morning Herald. Former U.S. President Donald Trump's net worth has risen to $3.1 billion, up $500 million from 2021, according to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. This comes as Trump's businesses prove resilient in a gloomy real estate market, with revenues at his golf courses surging more than 50% since 2019. Trump's move to Florida after leaving the White House has coincided with a boom in the state, bolstering the finances of 2 of his best-known properties, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach and the Doral Resort in Miami. After selling his Washington hotel and paying down loans, Trump is sitting on more cash and less leverage than at any point in the past decade. 5 hostages of Hamas are free, offering some hope to families of more than 200 still captive. The Globe and Mail. Families of the more than 200 hostages taken by Hamas during their deadly rampage in southern Israel on October 7 have questioned why progress has been so slow in securing their release. Israeli forces managed to free 5 hostages on October 30, but many others remain in captivity. Hamas has stated that it will release the hostages in return for thousands of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel, but Israel has dismissed this offer. The hostages include a wide range of individuals, including a Polish-Israeli historian, a Thai farmhand, a journalist who fought for Palestinian rights, and a physical therapist specializing in elder care, among others. The hostages were taken from a kibbutz in southern Israel and are being held in the Gaza Strip. The families of the hostages are growing increasingly desperate for news, and many are concerned about the safety of their loved ones due to Israel's bombardment of the Gaza Strip. New Centre will tell the story of Belfast in 2029. BBC. A new visitor centre in Belfast, set to open in 2029, aims to tell the authentic history of the city, according to Lord Mayor Ryan Murphy. The Belfast Stories project will be based at the former Bank of Ireland building and will feature a celebration of the city and its people, as well as a journey through its history. The £100 million development will include space for social and cultural events and is expected to become a base for film-related organizations and a home for Northern Ireland Screen's digital film archive. College football: Iowa-Rutgers is a game of how low can you go? Yahoo! The Iowa Hawkeyes are 37-19-1 to the under since 2019, the best under percentage in college football. This season Iowa games are 2-7 to the under with an average of 32 points. Gun ban in domestic violence case gets support at Supreme Court. Bloomberg. The U.S. Supreme Court has shown reluctance to strike down the federal gun ban for individuals who are subject to domestic violence restraining orders. During arguments, several conservative members of the court suggested that they did not interpret the Second Amendment of the Constitution as protecting the gun rights of individuals deemed to be dangerous. The case is the court's first test of a ruling from last year that strengthened Second Amendment protections and established a constitutional right to carry a handgun in public. UFC 295 pre-event facts: Alex Pereira's two-division title bid comes with historic twist. Yahoo! The UFC makes its annual stop in New York on Saturday with UFC 295, which takes place at Madison Square Garden with a pair of title fights that top the pay-per-view main card following prelims on ESPN News and ESPN+. In the main event, Yuri Prochaska, 29-3-1 MMA, 3-0 UFC, will return to competition from a significant injury to face Alex Pereira, 8-2 MMA, 5-1 UFC, for the vacant light heavyweight belt. Pereira becomes the first fighter to headline multiple UFC events at Madison Square Garden. Israeli archaeologists help find attack victims. BBC. Archaeologists in Israel have been helping to identify the remains of individuals killed in a Hamas attack a month ago. The archaeologists have been searching through the ash of burnt houses and cars, and have so far found the remains of at least 10 missing people. The Israel Antiquities Authority has been assisting with the search after being asked by Colonel Yossi Cohen of the Israeli military's Gaza division. The remains that have been found are being examined further at the Shura military base in central Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Dr. Six, the resident observer from the 6-degree world, bringing you the latest news and insights from across the dimensions. Let's dive right into today's headlines. First up, we have an interesting study on the relationship between wolves and beavers in Voyageurs National Park. It turns out that wolves play a crucial role in shaping the landscape by hunting beavers further away from their colonies. This limits the beavers' ability to cut down trees and transform the environment. Who would have thought that beavers would have to deal with such fierce competition? In other news, former President Donald Trump has been on the witness stand for his civil fraud trial in New York. As expected, he denied any wrongdoing and even attacked the judge and the attorney from the opposing side. It seems like he's taking the trial as an opportunity for a political rally. I guess he just can't resist the spotlight. Moving on, we have the passing of Gary Colson, a college basketball coach who successfully lobbied for the introduction of the three-point shot in college basketball. Talk about leaving a lasting legacy on the game. Now, let's talk money. Despite the gloomy real estate market, it seems like Trump's businesses are thriving, with his net worth rising to a whopping $3.1 billion. It turns out that his move to Florida has been quite profitable, with his golf courses seeing a surge in revenue. Maybe he should consider a career in the golf industry instead? On a more serious note, we have the hostage situation in southern Israel. Families are desperate for news about their loved ones who were taken captive by Hamas. The situation is tense, with Hamas demanding the release of Palestinian prisoners in exchange for the hostages. It's a complex issue that requires delicate negotiations. Shifting gears, let's talk about Belfast. The city is set to open a new visitor center in 2029 that aims to tell the authentic history of the city. It's always fascinating to see how cities preserve and share their stories. I wonder what kind of tales Belfast will have to tell. In the realm of sports, we have some college football stats for you. The Iowa Hawkeyes have the best under percentage in college football since 2019. It seems like their games are a battle of how low can you go, in terms of scoring. I guess defense really does win championships. Next, we have a development in the U.S. Supreme Court regarding gun rights and domestic violence restraining orders. The court seems hesitant to strike down the federal gun ban, suggesting that the Second Amendment does not protect the rights of individuals deemed dangerous. It's a complex and sensitive issue that requires careful consideration. Lastly, we have an interesting discovery in Israel. Archaeologists have been helping to identify the remains of individuals killed in a Hamas attack. It's amazing to see how archaeology can be used to bring closure and justice in modern-day conflicts. And that's a wrap on today's news. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you find the relationship between wolves and beavers fascinating? What about Trump's financial fortunes? And how about that hostage situation in Israel? I'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any questions you might have. Remember, the 6-degree world is all about engaging in lively discussions and expanding our perspectives. So, don't be shy, let's hear what you have to say. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6-Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.